the basketball star is going to sign a $28 Nike endorsement contract. Millions. The declaration that broke the realm of sports marketing emerged through one social media post that made a difference. All of it when Caitlin Clark entered. She entered the press briefing room, wasn't merely announcing a fresh endorsement. She was revising the entire deal. Women's sports marketing economics. Forever. The figure that flickered on screens left executives stunned, fans in incredulity, and rivals rushing to recognize the changes in the landscape so drastically in a single night. But this was about more than just money. It was about a conflict between large corporations that had been simmering ever since Clark stepped on a basketball floor, which is what caused this. A momentous occasion that has Nike executives are said to be incensed and rushing to defeat the largest support earthquake in women's athletics. The past. The current endorsement of Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, a landscaper, signed her first significant professional endorsement agreement with Nike in April 2024, just prior to the WNBA draft, as part of an alliance that was estimated to be valued about $28. Over the course of 8 years, this deal made her among the most lucrative endorsements women's basketball players throughout history. The Nike collaboration at the time featured the creation of distinctive shoes featuring Clark is one of the few WNBA players to sign their own. The deal also includes a basketball shoe line, included clothing, workout equipment, and several marketing campaigns created to profit from Clark's exceptional popularity as well as marketability following WNBA membership. The commercial attraction of Clark has increased dramatically as her jersey turned into her games and the league's best-selling, regularly attracting television audiences with more than 1 million viewers. This business success has created her as the player with the most marketability in. Her support for women's basketball portfolio includes more than just Nike, collaborations with Gatorade, HY, and more well-known companies that acknowledge her distinctive capacity to connect with general audiences and produce customer interaction that surpasses the norm for women's sports marketing. Results queries are raised on how terms of contracts and market values could change if Clark's commercial impact keeps increasing and could beyond the basic estimates set when her initial endorsement agreements were bargained. The financial aspects of women's sports supports women's athletics. The market for endorsements has traditionally operated with a much less assessments in contrast to men's sports, with even the most accomplished female athletes obtaining deals that show fractions of the commands of their masculine counterparts. In comparable sports in recent years, increasing awareness of women's sports marketing possibilities with more social media and television audience interaction and consumer expenditure on women's sports products and content. New investment has been drawn in by this growth and greater endorsement valuations. Discusses the effect of Caitlin Clark on the WNBA. Ratings, attendance, and sales of merchandise has shown the commercial women's basketball's potential in several ways that have taken the industry by surprise. Specialists who are used to greater restricted financial gains from women's the traditional way of professional sports model for endorsements in women's sports been called into question by Clark's unparalleled popularity in the general public and her capacity to produce income and involvement that is close to or greater than typical characteristics of men's basketball players in comparable markets. Positions that analysts of sports marketing observe that Clark's business success could signify a sea change in women's sports sponsorships could result in to significantly increased prices for upcoming transactions involving high-end women. Nike players in a variety of sports. Role in basketball advertising for Nike has taken center stage in basketball endorsements for decades, establishing connections with Michael Jordan and other legendary athletes, Kevin Durant and LeBron James, while putting on basketball sneakers and clothing as essential elements of their worldwide business plan. The business's commitment to women's basketball has become much more popular, with endorsement agreements in recent years for athletes such as Brianna Sabrina Ionescu, WNBA players, including Stewart, signifying the increasing awareness of the potential market for women's basketball. Nike's collaboration with Caitlin Clark was regarded as a wise investment in women's basketball's future, marketing with the business placing a wager on Clark's capacity to influence customers' interest and sales of the product in ways that might support substantial financial pledges. The creation of signatures, clothing and footwear brands need significant initial design investment, producing and promoting endorsement agreements for strategic business choices that go well beyond straightforward compensation plans for athletes. There are concerns about how Nike might answer to issues posed by competition in the market for women's basketball and if their present levels of investment suitably depict the expanding female athletes' potential for commerce. And Adidas's women's sports material. Adidas's strategic positioning formerly faced off against Nike for endorsements for basketball, even though they have frequently concentrating on various markets, segments, and collaborations with athletes. Their strategy for marketing women's sports has highlighted cultural authenticity, relationship as opposed to just the company's performance-based messaging, has made calculated investments in partnerships in women's sports with soccer players, tennis players, and basketball players that share their marketing goals and brand values. These connections frequently highlight aspects of culture and lifestyle. In addition to athletic performance, Adidas, the basketball division, has attempted to distinguish itself from Nike by novel technology and distinctive design strategies and collaborations with athletes who embody various facets of community and basketball culture. Involvement in recent years, Adidas put more emphasis on women's sports marketing, acknowledging the expansion potential as well as the chance to create more robust market positions where Nike has historically held a dominant position. Relationships of endorsement. Experts in sports marketing question whether women's basketball could be seen by Adidas as a calculated chance to profit advantages over competitors in basketball marketing through more aggressive investment compared to their rivals in the developing talent and expanding market niches. The sports marketing's competitive dynamics. Large sportswear manufacturers compete, trying to gain support connections with top sportsmen, frequently competing with one another in ways that can greatly influence contract values. Greater than preliminary market evaluations could imply the procedure of bidding for well-known. The endorsements of athletes can become extremely competitive when several businesses acknowledge the business potential of particular athletes and are prepared to making significant financial investments to establish exclusive alliances. Crucial factors in support. Deals encompass more than just the immediate business profits, but additionally the competitive benefits of avoiding competitors' access to especially beneficial marketing, alliances, and connections with athletes. The market for women's sports is a expanding field of rivalry between significant brands as businesses acknowledge the growing economic potential and looking for to forge solid positions prior to when market values reach their maximum. Prospective legal professionals see that negotiations for endorsements may include complicated words pertaining to exclusivity, incentives for performance, and the market protection that impacts both the monetary worth and strategic consequences of athlete collaborations. The evolution of social media and marketing. Sports marketing in the modern era has been. Social media platforms have changed that enable players to interact, connect with fans, and establish individual brands that are useful for Endorsements and business collaborations. Caitlin Clark's social opportunities. The media footprint consists of millions of followers across several platforms, establishing avenues for direct marketing that give the endorsement significant value. Partners looking to connect with interested viewers with an interest in basketball and the capacity to quantify sports content, conversion rates, and engagement reach. Social networking has given more exact techniques for assessing the impact of athletes on the economy, endorsements, and providing evidence for increased monetary pledges depending on recorded outcomes in traditional media, metrics that have been added to digital analytics that are able to monitor patterns of customer behavior, purchases, and brand recognition in ways that offer more convincing proof of the endorsement agreement, efficiency, and ROI. Concerns are raised regarding how social media, digital marketing, and impact capabilities could influence support, assessments, and, if conventional, strategies for marketing athletes appropriately take into consideration contemporary consumers' patterns of participation in the global market, taking into account the worldwide sportswear market. Market comprises substantial prospects in global marketplaces, where female basketball players and athletes vary in their levels of recognition and commercial attractiveness compared to Caitlin Clark's domestic U.S. markets. Appeal is not limited to American audiences. To incorporate global supporters who have learned about women's basketball through her time in college and her career, generating prospects for marketing in markets that have traditionally challenging to access for women's sports marketplaces in Europe and Asia reflect a substantial increase. Prospects for women's athletics. Marketing with a growing customer base, interest in basketball-related content, and endorsements from athletes that show increasing awareness of women's rights worldwide. The strategic value of professional sports of athletic endorsements frequently consists of their capacity to assist brands in establishing or bolster standing in international markets where local customers' tastes and cultural elements impact marketing, efficiency, and awareness of the brand. Analysts of sports marketing observe that potential for global markets has a major impact on endorsement assessments, especially for athletes who have proven to be appealing to people from many cultures, and the capacity to spark curiosity across a range of demographics and geographical divisions. Precedents in the industry and contrasts the most lucrative endorsement. In women's sports, agreements have historically focused on tennis, featuring athletes such as Serena Williams and Maria Sharapova's dominating transactions that beyond the usual level for athletes. In other women's sports, deals for basketball endorsements have historically ruled by men, sportsmen with even the most prosperous women's basketball players getting considerably smaller contracts than their male counterparts in spite of similar or better athletic. However, recent expansion in women's commercial success and sports audience has started to question conventional models of valuing with some women. Deals that approach for athletes might beyond what was previously thought to. Typical of sports endorsements for guys. The history of significantly rising negotiations may be impacted by values, seeking additional top-tier female athletes throughout different sports that could lead to a new standard for women's athletics. Legal professionals are curious about endorsement markets, whether the latest shifts in the market indicate brief modifications or significant changes in the promotion of women's sports is appreciated, and if these modifications will be maintained during various sports and sportsperson categories that the business affects. Basketball for women. Large endorsement agreements produce favorable momentum for all sports by proving the business's feasibility and bringing in more funding from media partners, sponsors, and other business partners with an interest in women's basketball's accomplishments. Of well-known endorsement deals frequently results in more media attention, interest from customers, and fan interaction. It is advantageous to each and every player in basketball for women as opposed to merely the certain athletes who are given the endorsement agreements boosted sales. Women's basketball investments can encourage league expansion and better player remuneration, improved facilities and conditions of travel, and expanded media coverage that improves the sport's quality and visibility. The evidence of substantial commercial possibility with a significant endorsement agreements frequently draw in new sponsors and partners who had previously failed to basketball for women, but now acknowledge the prospects for marketing and customer interaction. Possible queries come up on the success of individual endorsements could result in more extensive advantages regarding women's basketball, and if more business investment will be dispersed in a manner that encourages steady expansion at every level of the